Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video we're going through and looking back on my round 7 tips for the AFL season, as well as going through and tipping for round 8 of the season. So before we jump into it, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into this video. So looking back on last week, Melbourne versus Richmond, I said Melbourne by 18 points. They ended up winning by 20, so I was only 2 points off there. A really good start to the round because I needed a good margin game there. And I finally got one after having consecutive 6-goal plus ones, and I'm pretty sure I've already got a margin of like 250 or something like that at least. Then we get to Collingwood, Essendon. I said Collingwood by 32 in the end. They won by 41, so another pretty good prediction there. I was 9 points off. I did predict Darcy Cameron for the medal, and I think he came 3rd or 4th in the voting. Deservedly so. Steele Sidebottom got the medal there, so I was wrong even on that special tip there. Then Fremantle against Adelaide. I thought Adelaide would bounce back, but maybe they're a little bit more overrated in this little patch early that they had than what they should be. They're now 4-3 with a percentage of 124. And if they lose this week, they could easily jump out of the top 8, in my opinion, because you've got both Port. You've got quite a few teams that could easily jump them just by winning. And then also a few teams that, the likes of Carlton, that with a win and Adelaide loss, you would project that they would jump them. So, yeah, Adelaide I had by 12, and they ended up losing by 18. So that is a 30-point swing. Then Brisbane against St Kilda. I said Brisbane by 24. They ended up winning by, 45. So I was 21 points off there. So pretty good tip in that game. Then you've got Port Adelaide against North Melbourne. I predicted Port Adelaide by 36, and they won by 9 points. North Melbourne definitely did put up a little bit better of a fight in this game, and probably had chances to win this game. But in the end, Port Adelaide's just better role players in the end were just able to, alongside Butters. The whole team just was able to be more efficient than the likes of North Melbourne. North Melbourne has some glaring issues that they're going to have to fix up in the upcoming drafts, and they have no first-round pick. Yep. Then GWS. Wow. I should have gone with my preseason prediction. They are now 6th, and much to the same of Adelaide. They need 3 teams out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 realistically. 3 out of 5 teams below them that are directly below them to win, to be out of the 8. As I predicted them to win by 12, and they ended up losing by 32, which is a 44-point swing. And in all honesty, they probably should have lost by more. I'm pretty sure the Bulldogs rested Bont with about 15 minutes to go, and they still won by that many points. They were just absolutely dominating. Harms kicked 4 or whatever, as well as just their whole midfield just absolutely smashed them off the park. They even did it without Sanders doing much. Then Gold Coast against Sydney. I sadly had to tip against Sydney just because I knew that this was going to happen. It looked so good halfway into the second when they were up 29 points. And then, something like 40 to maybe even less. Probably about 39, 40 points to about 100. So that was just a mammoth swing, and they ended up losing by 38 points, which means that I was still 23 points off. Then Geelong against Carlton. I don't think anyone saw this game coming too much, to be honest. Carlton aren't that bad, and Geelong aren't maybe as good as what they should be, but they'll probably come back stronger, Geelong. And they ended up losing this one by 18 points. So I was 44 points off the worst tip of the round. And then I had Hawthorn by 55 points, and they won by 50. So I was 5 points off in that one. A pretty good tip for a massive margin game. Then we move on to round 8 here. And we kick off with tonight's fixture between Essendon and North Melbourne. I think Essendon will win this because North Melbourne are without their best goal kicker in Curtis, as well as Wardlaw. And Essendon, although they don't have basically a ruckman, I still think will be able to find a way over the likes of North Melbourne. And they also haven't beat North haven't beat Essendon in something like 3,200 days. So I have a feeling Essendon are going to win this, and I have a feeling they're going to bounce back and going to win it by 23 points. I think North will put up a fight, but in the end, they won't have the quality to be able to win it. So I'm going to go Essendon by 23. St Kilda, Fremantle, that's an interesting one. Obviously, Mason Wood could actually be a bigger out than what people are saying. Fremantle also have Luke Jackson returning, which should be a net positive for them in the end. And I think Freo win this one, I'm going to say, by, I think, 15 points. I know it's at Marvel Stadium, so I think that's where it'll be closer. And St Kilda are very stingy, so are Fremantle. So it's probably going to be this could easily be a 75-60 game. Western Bulldogs against Port Adelaide. Western Bulldogs are heavy favourites at Mars Stadium against Port Adelaide. Very, very interesting. Western Bulldogs are on a massive run at the moment. I say that, but Port have won more games in a row than Western Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs lost to Brisbane as well as Fremantle, but beat St Kilda and beat GWS alongside beats Carlton. I'm actually going to go the massive upset in this game and go Port Adelaide to win this game. I'm going to go Port Adelaide to win it by 12 points. I know Bont coming back has really helped, but I just really rate this Port Adelaide outfit at the moment, the way that they're playing, and they've been able to I know that they barely beat North Melbourne, but North Melbourne put up a hell of a fight in that game. They beat Sydney very, very, it was tight, but it was rather convincing in the first half, and then they beat Hawthorn as well, and Hawthorn are up there as well. So I'm going to say that Port Adelaide are one of the teams to upset this round. Adelaide against Carlton. Now I'm going to say the thing is, Adelaide probably should be favourites because Crouch is going to help them out. But Carlton at the moment are just dismantling teams. I mean, they did play Geelong and beat Geelong. They beat North Melbourne and they beat West Coast. But they beat North Melbourne and West Coast very convincingly. Lost to Collingwood, but it wasn't the worst loss. And then lost to Western Bulldogs, it wasn't the worst loss. Whereas Adelaide just lost to Fremantle, beat GWS, lost to Geelong, and lost to Gold Coast, and then beat North Melbourne. I'm going to go in another upset. I'm going to go Carlton in this game by, I think, 10 points. I think it will be a tight one. I think that both teams will be able to score. Also, Hinge being out could be interesting for the Curnow-Mackay matchups as well. So that'll be interesting as well. But I'm going to go Carlton in a blow over there. Melbourne should beat West Coast. I'm pretty sure even Melbourne's VFL side would go close to beating West Coast at the moment. West Coast just looks so pathetic. And are, I believe, 18th for a reason, if it will allow me to double check. They lost to Freo by 38. They lost to GWS by 81. They lost to Carlton by 71. They lost to Essendon by 2. How did Essendon win that by 2? And then they lost to Hawthorn by 50 points, and Hawthorn kicked rather inaccurately, 18 goals, 16. So I'm going to go Melbourne in this game by 34 points. Hopefully they don't have an absolute stinker. And then you've got Collingwood against Geelong. You have to go Collingwood with just the form that they're in. Darcy Moore could be back. We don't know exactly. As well as just their midfielders just running rings around him. Ned Long is probably one of the not pickups of the year because he's been playing for them, but one of the most improved players of the year, I would say. He's been absolutely outstanding and just been critical in big moments. So I'm going to go Collingwood in this one by 21 points over Geelong. Sydney against GWS, it's hard to see Sydney, especially if Sam Wicks isn't back. He's a test to play. If Sam Wicks isn't back and they have Caleb Mitchell back there, then it's going to be rough to see Sydney even, or a Jake Lloyd in defence. They don't really have that lockdown player, and I could just see Toby Green and guys like that. Toby Green, Darcy Jones, Brett Daniels isn't there for them, which is a good thing, because that would be crazy if they had no lockdown defenders and you had... Toby Green will probably be will probably have the Rampy matchup, which he will probably be able to cancel that out. But I think it's the worrying matchup is the Darcy Jones matchup, and I just don't know if Sydney have a matchup for him. So I'm going to tip against them again. It really doesn't feel good to tip against them, but I just don't think that they win this game. I think GWS will win it here. They win it scrappingly by, I think, 13 points, to be honest with you. And then you've got Hawthorn or Richmond. Hawthorn will win this one very, very, very convincingly. No Noah Bolter for this game, I believe. No, he should be able to play this one, I think, or maybe, sure. He'll be able to play this one because at the MCG and not away. So, yeah, Richmond should do all right, but not outstanding. I expect Hawthorn to win this one by 45 points. And then you've got Brisbane against Gold Coast. Brisbane should be able to win the Q Clash. I expect pretty convincingly, although Gold Coast have been rather good in the last couple games. So last couple weeks, they did end up losing to Richmond, which I should just take back that whole statement that I said that they've been good because they lost to Richmond. But outside of that, they've been pretty convincing, I would say, beating most teams rather convincingly. So, but I think that Brisbane just don't have that utter... Brisbane, other than the Collingwood defeat that they had, are undefeated. And that's, they're just absolutely smashing it, I feel like. I know that only loss for Gold Coast is the Richmond game, but that's a little bit more glaring, I feel like, than losing to Collingwood, who are top of the table at the moment. So I'm going to predict Brisbane to win this one by 27 points there. So those are my tips for the week. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys back here on Friday for my game review of the, the Essendon versus North Melbourne game, which I will I'm glad that how did this get a Thursday night game is the biggest question of the round. But anyway, I'll see you guys in that game review tomorrow. Bye, guys.